These days, most of us are pretty concerned about climate change, and we know we need to reduce our carbon footprint. But the question is, how? And as gardeners, what's the best way to do it? The good news is that you can reduce your carbon footprint and cut down your emissions by over 300 kilos a year without having to walk around barefoot, grow dreadlocks and plant 100 trees a day. And you want to know what the secret is? It's compost. And believe me, there is a hothouse of raw, unfettered activity inside my compost heap. There's life, death, decomposition, heat, relationships. It's amazing stuff. Look, compost excites me no end. I know that by cultivating this wonderful stuff, I improve the soil and ultimately the state of the planet. So here's the backstory. Each week, the average Australian produces around 3.5 kilograms of food and garden waste, which works out at 180 kilos per year. Most of that ends up in landfill. If we assume that in every kilogram of rubbish we produce, half of it is green waste and the other half is food waste, then together that contains enough carbon to produce 0.17 kilos of methane. That's the equivalent to about 100 cans of aerosol. Methane is a particularly insidious little gas because it's got about 21 times the global warming potential of carbon dioxide. So, in order to reduce these figures, we need to compost this organic waste rather than throwing it into landfill. The best part is, composting is a way of capturing and storing carbon in the soil. When you add compost to your soil, you help produce microscopic critters called microbes that are basically like vitamin pills for your soil. They help to break down the compost. And the other thing that we love about microbes is that they're really, really attractive to worms. And we gardeners love worms. They're such industrious, hard-working little beasties that will improve any kind of soil. If your soil is light and sandy, chances are it'll have trouble retaining and absorbing water. And the only things that can survive in soil that has no water and poor nutrients are garden gnomes. Compost can help on both these fronts. As the compost breaks down, it releases nutrients into the soil, also creating a food source for your plants. Plus, we know how much worms love compost, so adding compost will bring more worms, and before you know it, your garden will be looking a whole lot healthier. The other tricky kind of soil to work with is really heavy clay, but compost can help with this too, especially if it's fairly fresh. Add a generous layer of it on top of the soil and then cover with lucerne, pea straw or a fine straw mulch. Then plant your seeds and watch your babies grow. After a few months, you'll find a great amount of worm activity has taken place, and this will have broken up the clay, improved the texture of the soil and improved the drainage as well. The only thing you need to do is give it an occasional water throughout the hot weather. When it comes to finding an appropriate home for your precious compost, it's important to think about sustainable design and the long-term effects of what you invest in. If you prefer to house your compost in a plastic bin, consider using 100% recycled plastic. So there you go. Thanks to the miraculous world of compost, you can literally worm your way out of carbon emissions. Now that's the first in our two-part hard-hitting series on compost. As always, you can grab more info from our website, sgaonline.org.au. In our next instalment, we'll be finding out how to make some terrific compost and debunk some myths about what can and cannot go into your compost heap.